Yeah, he wanted
They said to wear a mask.
They wanted the full continuation of the my wife getting naked in the shower video. All right, 8 o'clock. Time to start the official Q&A feed. This is where we cut it. And it begins. How about that?
Hey, made the light go out.
You know those are the batteries.
Oh. Well, yeah, great timing on that. Nothing else.
Clap my hands.
As soon as he clapped his hands, it's like.
So, intro information for those of you watching this after the fact. I apologize for all that racket. This is our Tuesday night Q&A feed. If you have any questions or follow-up questions or anything from what you see on here, leave them in the comments, either on YouTube or otherwise, whatever. Reach out to me through the PMs, and we'll try to address them on next week's show. This is live for our Patreon people, and then we put it out there after the fact so that you can replay it and watch it. All right, so we just got back from going and picking up a motorcycle for Lori that she is somewhat excited about, just a little bit. And yeah, it was an adventure driving 2.5 hours in the pouring rain. And just when we thought we broke out of it,
that last little curve,
you could
coming
see
home.
Like we were going down through Andrews, North Carolina. For those of you familiar with it, it's long 4-lane. You can see like for miles, and we could see this black curtain, and there was blue skies underneath it. And we were like, "We're going there. We're gonna make it out."
But you could see the like darkness to this side. You could see it to
like
this side.
It was like a curtain going down to the ground, like black curtains on both sides, and it was blue sky right there. But the way the road curves around put us into one of those curtains, basically right before we got home, and she got dumped on
again.
So came home, jumped in the shower, just turned the hot water on, just let it run over all of her gear and everything, and then we threw it all in the washer. Fun times, motorcycling. It's all about the freedom, man.
Yeah, we picked the bike up in North Georgia.
Was that Asheville? No, we were in North Georgia, and it's a Ducati Scrambler, used. It's not new, but it's in good shape. 7,000 miles. It had been down at some point and had a few things fixed, but there's a few scratches on it. But good deal on it, so we went for it.
Probably have to lower the bars. I have issues
the handlebars are
with my like hands extremities going numb. Even like paddleboarding, driving a car, I have the same issue where my hands will just lose all feeling. And toward the end of the ride home, I don't know if it's because I was so cold and tensing up and just like I'm gonna make it, or if it was the height of the bars was wrong and I was pinching off that
combination
blood supply. Yeah.
Could be.
So probably have to adjust those.
Yeah, I think that those are pretty cool bikes to tinker with and modify, because everything's just sort of out there, and so you can do mirrors and you can do levers and things like that are really trick. And then the handlebars, I think they could stand to be lower. They look like a Huffy bicycle handlebars. You put tassels on the end of them. Leather tassels or pink and white tassels.
I'd do it on the bed. If I lost a bed.
All right, so this Blount County Watch Your Site for locals going over the line. I don't know that they do. They may. I think they do kind of keep up with what's going on out there with what we post. But I don't think it's a big, sort of habit of theirs. Kind of watch those comments over there. We can't get to everything. We'll try to, but if we don't get to your question, you put it in the comments. Make in the live feed comments. Make sure you, if we don't get to it, make sure you put it in the, the comments for next week and everything, and we'll try to get to it. Daniel Kinsler asked, being a fairly new dragon rider, once you get to the top, which he means, I think, the southern end, and go past the store at the bottom of the hill where the road splits by Dill's Gap Station, what is to the left and what is to the right? Go to tailsofdragon.com and look at their maps. There's some really cool maps that show all these great routes. That's just a split that goes to two totally impressive roads. You stay to the right, you stay on 129, you go south to Robbinsville. If you go left, you get on 28 or Moonshiner 28, and that runs along reservoir, goes down to Fontana Dam, and they both loop around, and you can make a loop out of it, but one keeps going east and one keeps going south. But really cool option there. Check them both out. Make a loop of it. C. Rice, Carl Rice. Several years ago, there was a rumor that Ron and Nancy were going to build a hotel motel on the property near the store. Any truth to that? Not that I know of, honestly. I don't think they have. I haven't heard that one. I don't think they are interested in doing that. They've got a few rental houses, and that I think that's enough work for them. Friend of mine from Tellico Plains, a descendant of a fellow buried on the Dragon, Bass Shaw. Thought that was interesting. Yeah, Bass Shaw grave up at mile marker 6.
Yeah, like
6.5, 6.6 or something like that. Cool little site. We've talked about that before. Daniel Kinsler, my thoughts were as the ones taking the photos and being in an area you and other photographers have the biggest voice and the most influence on people, us and the police. But I think people are more concerned about being called out in the photos for doing bad things than they are about getting a ticket for doing bad things. Buddy, this is the lump. Hey, buddy. Woof.
He was down there pawing at my leg, so I was like, okay, you can lay in my lap.
I'm a paramedic this continues. I'm a paramedic by trade, and just seeing the lane crossing and the most cringeworthy thing of all the things that can happen, it's the only thing that's actually controllable to help prevent accidents. There's one more thing, and I'll get to it in a second. I'm also surprised that the authorities have not put an ambulance fire station closer to the area. There's another thing that causes a lot of accidents, maybe on the same level as lane crossing, and that's people stopping or overslowing in the road almost to a stop. Quick, we'll grab it. So, be aware of that. People will just stop in the road, and it irks me to no end. As far as setting up an ambulance and fire station, fire, first of all, is not that common, and it would be, I understand it would be nice to have one there, but the feasibility of it, you got to be realistic. They would sit there for 11 months and 28 days out of the year doing nothing. Now, the fire department does help in a rescue sense of pulling vehicles up and stuff off the bank, so that would be cool. And same thing with the ambulance, honestly. They would be sitting there 6 days out of the week with twiddling their thumbs.
They did start setting one up closer a few years ago.
Now, yeah, as far as like a vehicle, but not like a building. Is what I take it to that's what he means here, is why isn't there like a building emergency type thing. And they come out there on the weekends, and I recently posted a link. Please go to Blount County Rescue Squad bcrs.org and donate to those guys. I put some information up on the social media pages, but they are just donation only driven. They donate their time and money out there to help us out, and they don't get any funds from the government, which is pretty rare. That's cool. So check those guys out. Bob Kendall. Is it hard to train inexperienced photographers in the Killboy way? What are the main principles? I'm going to start on those two. It's not hard because it's pretty high volume photography. You get a lot of practice. So basically what we do is just put them out there, and they are extras for like a couple of weeks, and they'll take tens of thousands of photos, and usually after a couple of weeks they've got the hang of it just by repetition. The Killboy way is open to a photographer's sort of style. I don't want everybody to shoot the exact same way, so I'm cool with them kind of doing their own thing and doing things that they think look better or separate themselves from the other guys. I don't want us to do repetitious photography. I want each photographer to have his own style. I like that they move around and don't sit in the same corner all the time. And we try to shoot fairly low shutter. We would like to shoot really low shutter, but it's too risky, because if a person is going by, that may be the only chance we get. If you're at a racetrack where you get the opportunity of them every time they're going around to play around with risky shots, and you may not get any good photos when they go by one time, but the next time you'll get something usable. We don't get that option. If they go by and we don't get good photos, that's it, so we can't get too risky with the shutter speed. Where did you get your own sense of art and composition? I just kept fiddling with it and would see things that I like and know that that's what I want to continue working on. So it was just, there wasn't any real intention in that style of that I shoot. Any art classes or such, not really. And I've always just had a visual sense. I guess I don't consider myself to be some breakthrough artist. I just take pictures and lots of pictures. And whenever I see one, it's like, oh, that's sweet. Then I know that I want to focus on that. What's that thing right there?
Thought it was Miatas at the Gap every time I was there.
Oh yeah, there's always Miatas at the Gap. They're like I don't know, it's the go-to car for that road. It's the one place where I wouldn't say one place. I'm not trying to hurt people Miata's feelings, but it is one place where Miatas really do shine over any vehicle. And it's hard to say that on a lot of other places. Anything that's more open, where power comes into play, the Miatas will always kind of struggle. Racetracks, open roads, things like that. But a really technical road like the Dragon really sort of levels the playing field for all the machines out there. And that's why it's kind of funny to see the reactions of people on super bikes and supercars that couldn't hang with the Miata or couldn't shake a Miata or whatever. And just be careful about the racing thing. We're not trying to promote all that, but
it's like having a different tool for the job.
Yeah.
Between the cars.
All right, so getting to the questions on the Patreon thread where we ask you guys to submit your questions. That was some questions from other posts and things like that. Logan Lowe asked, what is your relationship with your competition? Do you guys ever communicate with each other about anything? Do you discuss photo locations, or is it all an understanding you're out there doing the same thing, keep out of each other's business out of respect? Yeah, we communicate if needed, but not very often. I just sort of mind my own business and do my own thing. What those guys want to do, I'm not going to get all caught up in that. We just continue to do what we do. I think we do well. I think we, we kind of lead the way in all that, and we're going to continue working to keep that status. And, like first come, first serve as far as the locations go. We just, we just know, everybody knows that if somebody's there, then you can go somewhere else. It's like 100 and something paved pull-offs, and I don't like to do the same thing over and over. I encourage my guys to move around too and get different angles and things like that. I think that's what works best. Have you or any of your crew ever had any trouble with Mother Nature's creatures while working on the roads?
The one time the pigs ran you off.
Yeah. For the most part, since we're sitting still, I think interactions with animals don't happen as much because typically animals can sense where you are by the smell and stuff. And when people have run-ins with animals, it's usually the person came upon the animal while the animal wasn't really paying attention or couldn't smell them maybe. So we don't have any problems with bear. There was one time a whole family or two of boar came sort of working their way through the woods behind me while I was sitting on the side of the road shooting, and I just sort of got up and walked away and walked over to the other side of the road, and I didn't have anything to protect myself.
He took his camera with him, the
shot video and put the video on YouTube.
Thing,
Yeah.
But he left his gun, his food, his laptop, everything else.
I can't believe they didn't get into my food.
Yeah, they're like rooting all around.
They worked their way right behind where I was sitting eating. They eat grub worms and stuff out of the ground, soft dirt and everything. And there was several adults and there was a couple of babies and stuff in there. And I just stood across the road hoping that they didn't come my way because I didn't have anything to do besides just run. And they're not slow, wild boar.
And there was one morning in the same turn that happened in that I went out to shoot early one morning and had ridden the Husky out. So all I had was my helmet, a bike, and a camera. And I'm sitting there at Shade Tree when there was still a shade tree at Shade Tree, hence the name. And I can see something just through the woods, and it starts getting closer and closer, and it's ended up being a bear. And I'm like, what do I do? Do I take off? There's Mia.
There was a time that snake was in the rattlesnake was there while I was shooting all day too.
But I was at the bike and I was ready to start it and blow the horn, just make whatever kind of noise I needed to get the bear to go away. Because it was early morning, not a lot of traffic. And then there was a loud bike came through and kind of took care of the bear, sent him on his merry way. The dogs are wanting to be super all up in the business
involved.
Tonight.
Yeah, there was the time I was at the same turn and there was a rattlesnake, big rattlesnake there.
I'm sensing a theme here.
It was there like for hours and I just kept watching it and it was watching me and I would keep moving and it moved and it finally started going across the road and there was traffic coming and I had a broom where we used to, keep them in the car and I tried to like shoo it across the road. I can't fit my hands on the screen. It was like freaking 4 feet long. And I tried to get it to go across the road and it didn't. And then somebody came along and like hit it with a bike, I think, and it shot across the road after that. And took
it
off.
got in a hurry.
But I think it damaged it. Sweet asks, Sweet McGrath, do your cars have genders? For some reason, Earl came to mind for your Dakota. Do you two wrench on your toys and cars or send them out to be fixed? I don't. She gets into some naming. She already came up with a name for the motorcycle she just went and picked up, Sal, because of the salvage title status that it had.
I'm cheesy.
But I don't know of any other names for our cars.
Let's see. We have my Black Dahlia, which is the S2000. His at White FRS was Puka. My blue BRZ was Vera, because that's Jane's favorite gun in Firefly.
Firefly Serenity.
That's
a good series. If you haven't watched it, Firefly and Serenity. Highly recommend it. We've watched it like
a lot.
So the guy in there's got a gun named the guy Vera. Jane has a gun named Vera.
It's his most prized possession. So that's what I named the BRZ after. Was Jane's prized possession.
And she asked, do you wrench on your own toys or send them out? We do some.
Both.
I'm not big on working on cars. I just don't get any joy out of it.
And he comes home and I have the whole front end disassembled.
Yeah, so she'll work on cars more than I do. She'll take the whole thing apart, the whole body work apart and everything. She doesn't build motors necessarily, but she'll install fog lights or, install.
Track down leaks. And
air
leaks.
What's some of the more intense, deeper stuff that you've worked on, that you've done to them that was impressive, that you changed out or fixed or whatever?
Well, I've plastic dipped them all several times.
Yeah, not all.
Well, some of them.
Do you suspect the TVA stronghold... Continuing Sweet's question, do you suspect the TVA stronghold in Fontana will deter potential investors? Hard to own what you'll never really own, Yeah, I think that's a reason that the previous entities pulled out. They can't own the property, and TVA doesn't want to let go of it and let it become something that's not historically accurate and preserved. So if you let amusement park, for instance, come in and take over and buy the land and everything, then they could wipe out what's there, put in Ferris wheels and, whatever. I'm not really against that. I'm not saying that I agree or disagree with that. I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to preserve something that has a lot of history. It is one of, if not the last dam-based towns, that was built for Fontana Dam. For those of you that don't know, Fontana Village used to be the town for the people who built Fontana Dam. They built it so that the workers could be there, because the commute to that area would have taken hours back then. So they just had everybody move to this town. It's self-sufficient. They've got their own zip code. They've got their own post office, church, general stores.
And it was during its peak time, it was a lot bigger. There were cabins. What they have is the drive into the check-in up at the inn now. That used to be lined with cabins even when I worked there.
So those big fields that are like they're disc golf now fields. So there's several acres of fields, and those used to all be cabins. She used to work there and help housekeeping and clean the cabins, and so she's pretty familiar with the area.
And even like going down the main road where the whole village is to one side, the other side of the road had cabins too. So this was, and some of the workers had their own cabins that were right there next to the dam, the building site where they were working. So there was a elderly man went to church with my parents that he and his father actually worked on the dam when it was being built. And, he would tell me stories.
Like a supervisor or something too, being that close to it, But he was telling stories.
Yeah, about, being like right there next to it while they were working on it and everything. Is pretty cool.
Yeah, that thing's just amazing. Eric asks, what makes your Macan sound the way it does? Is it exhaust alone? Maybe a tune? I've seen some around, haven't heard that. All I did was cut the mufflers out and replace it with straight pipe. That's it. I mean, we put a tune on it afterwards, but that didn't have anything to do with the sound. That thing's already got 2 turbos and 4 catalytic converters, 2 pre-cats and 2 full cats, because it's got a true dual exhaust. So there was like 8 mufflers on that thing, and we just cut 2 of them out at the back that were doing the most muffling. Is that a word?
It is now.
So it sounds really rowdy at startup, and especially when it's cold, but cruising around, it's actually really quiet. It's not very, I think it's perfect. It's not obnoxious.
It's got the right amount of zing when you get on it.
Get on it, it'll, whoop, pow, and do a pop thing.
Sounds good.
Brody Schimmel asked, other than the Dragon, what is your favorite road in the area? We drove the Foothills Parkway the first time this past week, and I have to say that road's an absolute blast. I like the Foothills Parkway. It's one that's hard to really enjoy as a local, because we like to approach the limits of the vehicle, and we can get really close. And so to do that on the Foothills Parkway means you have to go pretty fast, and it's a more of an open road. So it's a little bit sketchy to go that fast on that road. The police, the tourism, people stopping in the road, animals are a bigger problem on the Foothills Parkway. I do like it, but other great roads in the area. We just did yesterday. We did a big loop with my uncle and his family. And I love this loop. We took 28. We got on 28 outside of Robbinsville, south of Robbinsville. We go down 28 and do that sort of freshly paved tight section down to Franklin, and then loop around and take Wire Road back up. And so it becomes just this big loop off of 1974, just south of Robbinsville. Really good road, and just almost nonstop curves. And some of it's tight, some of it's open, some of it's scenic, some of it's not. It's just got this really cool mix. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that loop.
You're either kind of down by a river or a lake, or up on top of the mountains seeing views. So you get a lot of variety there.
It's almost like playing a driving video game where you can drive all across a continent and you can see all the different sort of types of scenery. It is weird because, you go by a lake and then you're in a mountain and then you're in the curves, and it's very scenic. But I like that loop a lot. And there's also a little side road off of that a lot of people don't know about. So pro tip, look for Forest Road 7-Eleven, like the convenience store chain. So FR 7-Eleven off of Wire Road. It just goes up and turns to gravel after like 8 miles or whatever, 10 miles. And but it's killer paved road. It's kind of dirty. Trees will fall and they just stay there for weeks. But so be careful. Watch for things.
Residents or anything on that road, so they don't have.
Yeah, it just seems like a pointless road. It's
there
really
is a shooting range and a horse camp, though.
Yeah, and they're always just empty. And so there's nobody up there. It's just like our own little playground up there, and it's a little bit sketchy. Feel it out the first time you go up there, but once you get a feel for it, it's pretty sweet. Alcohol in Graham County. Do you think it'll ever change, and which way do you prefer? I don't really have anything for or against it. I think that it would be better if they had it here for the businesses and things. I don't think that alcoholism and drunk driving really coincide with a county's decision to sell alcohol or not. People still drunk drive around here. It's a dry county. Little known fact about me, I've never drank, I've never smoked or done any drugs, and I don't really have a whole lot against it. I don't like to see people drunk driving. But if you want to drink, if you want to consume other forms of partake other forms of entertainment, that's your call. I don't really care about all that, or don't get bothered by it. I just never did do it. And then at some point I was like, I've never done it, so I'm just not going to do it. But I think that, for the businesses in the county, it would be beneficial to them to be able to keep people around here rather than them going to other counties just because they want to drink with their meal.
Yeah, I don't know how many times we were at the IMS shows and people be sold on the place and, okay, where's a good place to get a drink with dinner? It's a dry county, and then they throw the brochures back on the table and walk off. Yeah,
literally. Yeah, like they're pissed off. Now, to be fair, that was before most of these places that are able to sell now. So we call this a dry county, or some people call it dry county. I call it more like a moist county, because there's like 5 places that sell alcohol in this county because they're grandfathered in. They have to meet these draconian requirements. It's so weird. So basically, if you're a resort and you have a restaurant and you have like 2 of the 3 following things: horse stable, swimming pool, tennis court, then you're allowed to sell alcohol. So that's why you will see there's tennis courts at Moonshiner Steakhouse, or there's horse stables. A lot of people don't even notice this. There's horse stables at Deal's Gap Motorcycle Resort in the middle of the parking lot where the campsite bathrooms are. Yeah. Right in the middle of the parking lot, there's like 3 or 4 horse stables that are they have hay in them. They have to keep them like ready to go, and that's so they could sell alcohol. They also have tennis courts up in the mountain up behind the resort that nobody ever goes to, and they put those tennis courts in just so they could sell alcohol and meet that requirement. So there's Poco Lodge, Snowbird Lodge up by the
Cherry Hill
Skyway, Moonshiner Steakhouse in South Robbinsville, Deal's Gap Motorcycle Resort.
Yeah, Fontana, if they ever open.
And Fontana did, yeah. Is Iron Horse able to sell? I can't remember if they're able to sell, but those are places that you can get alcohol because they've met those requirements that they have to meet to be grandfathered in. Roy Fox, is there any particular corner or set of corners have a tendency to catch out first-time visitors to the Dragon? I'd say any corner.
3 and 5.
Mile marker 3
and
mile marker 5.
Yeah,
it's 3. Gravity Cavity. No, that's not that bad. I mean, we see people blow it, but not many people really get messed up there.
Oh,
catch all and stuff
I'm
like
thinking
that.
just people kind of routinely screw up on it. It's like coming up on it. It's like,
man, I'm seeing all this dog hair.
Yeah, where you picked me up. Yeah. She just deposited everything she had.
It's hot, so the dogs are like getting rid of their hair. I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but any place that's fast, any section that's fast by design or whatever you want to call it, ends with a sharp turn. That's what delineates a fast section, is where the sharp turns are the ends of that fast section. And as a result, those sections tend to lure people into a higher speeds, and then they end with a sharp turn. And that's what happened this past week with the unfortunate incident with the local young guy that passed away. I don't think it was any big real mistake, but it's a place that fits that same description. It's a fast section, and at the end of it, there's a sharp turn. We actually call this one spot brake check turn because it's just so easy to approach that sharp turn with speed. So it's hard to convey the locations of these things. I mean, there's some turns that are named on maps, but a lot of turns are not. I mean, 1 out of every 10 turns is got a name. So catch all at mile marker 3.2 or whatever, right before Parsons Branch has a lot of signs now. We actually worked with DOT a couple years ago on specific places that needed better signage. They came to me and to Ron Johnson with Tail of the Dragon and was like, hey, we want to work with you guys on putting these signs up. Tell us where they need to be. And that was one of the places was catch all. Now you drive straight towards a sign that's like turn top of Stonewall. And mile marker 5, where she got hit, and a lot of people have problems. We told them to put a sign there, and they marked the road for the crew to come in, because it's like one crew goes through and does the survey and maybe paints the marks on the road, and then another crew comes in and uses that information that the survey crew did to put the signs on the spots where they marked that coordinate with the GPS coordinates that they're supposed to do. And they didn't put one at mile marker 5, and it's still a bad spot right at mile marker 5. So Josh McQuaid says, so when are we having a Patreons at the Gap Drive? That'd be pretty funny. I don't know. I have to think about that one. Have people feeling like excluded because they weren't invited. If money's no object, what's your favorite ride on the Dragon, 2-wheel or 4-wheel, and why those particular ones? I haven't ridden that much stuff. I know people see what I drive and ride, and you can chime in here too. We kind of covered this in one before, but I think the motards are pretty much my favorite 2-wheel rides. I would really like to ride an electric motard with good power, maybe not even much range. I don't care about having 100 miles of range. I just want like 40 miles of range. But I would really think that a motard, supermoto with 60 horsepower electric motor, 100 foot-pounds of torque, fairly lightweight, would be awesome. As far as cars go, I don't know. That's a tough one. I haven't driven a lot of supercars or anything like that. I always have problems with those typically being too wide to be fun. So again, I think something like the S2000 is hard to beat. The Miatas are good too. I like the motor in the S2000. You really like your S2000. Anything I'm missing as far as bikes or cars?
Bikes. Yeah. Small. I agree on the Supermoto. Yeah. That's probably my favorite.
It's kind of what we
ever since we bought that Husky 450 was just awesome. The Vanderhall was a really. I'll own one of those someday.
Yeah, the Vanderhall.
It's
reverse trike.
Yeah, it's not that it's fast and that you get through there any quicker. It's just the feel and the experience of driving that vehicle.
So low to the road and so open. I mean, it is. You can literally hang your hand out.
You feel cool when you're driving.
You can hang your hand out the side and just touch the road.
Yeah,
you're so low in it. It's so cool. And you're just like a little bullet.
A little bump shifter over there, driving it, and just
we had a lot of fun in that.
I just love the feel of that one.
All right, so go ahead.
For the car,
what you got?
Do I get to shut the gap down and get a Ken Block car?
Yeah.
And just go for it? That's my.
That'd be sweet.
That's what I'd do.
Yeah. Does it have to be street legal or not?
Can I shut the road down?
All right. So we're at 8:30, and I'm going to end it up with a tip. And I'm going to try to do this kind of every week. And next week we're going to talk about some lawsuit avoidance issues and ideas and techniques that we've thought of just to keep you out of trouble, because we've seen a couple of our friends getting serious legal lawsuits and things up there that they were totally innocent and it was just messed up. And so we've developed some techniques for that, but that'll be next week. For this one, I got a tip that I want to share that we've sort of figured out recently, and I think it's a really good idea. And we talked to a couple of friends about it, but basically to help you have a better time on the Dragon. If somebody's in front of you and you're with a bunch of friends and pulling over is not really an option, or maybe not a feasible option. It should always be an option. Don't get me wrong. But if you need to get somewhere or you just want to have some fun and there's one person in front of you, one of the techniques that we figured out recently was Lori put the phone out the window and held it up out the window where it was real obvious. And the person in front of us was like driving all over the road and wouldn't pull over.
And I was shooting video.
And she was shooting video. So shoot video. But not just from behind the windshield where the person can't see it, but put it out the window and up high where the person in front of you can see it. And even
make sure you stronghold that thing. Hang on to it.
The wind will get it. But the other option is turn the flashlight on. And you can either not be shooting video and just put the phone out there with the flashlight on, or shoot video and set it to flash on for your video. Some phones will do this, some phones won't. But if you want to shoot video, you can tell it to turn the flash on and it'll shoot video with that light on. And that's very persuasive in getting people to either, stop cutting corners or just pull over, because nobody wants to be on camera being an ass, basically.
If they stop, confront you, it's like, man, I'm just getting footage for whenever you hit somebody so that they have the evidence.
Yeah, so that when you cause an accident, we're going to have the evidence right here to proceed with legal action. So
one last question.
How bad is the gravel on 711 off Waya? Would you do it 2 up on GS? It's not bad. There's a couple of spots where there's little gravel.
And it depends on your experience.
Right, yeah.
On off-road 2 up, on that sort of thing. But if you've done any gravel roads,
it's not even a gravel road. It's a good paved road. It's actually really good pavement, smooth.
Until you get to the broken pavement.
Yeah, there's two overlook or pull off areas, and the first one doesn't really have much of a view. And when you get to this one pull off that has a view of a lake, that's where you want to turn around if you're not interested in gravel. If you have a dual sport road or a dual sport vehicle, keep going, because it just loops back around to Waya and it's gravel, but it's pretty ruddy. It's not for a lightweight off-road vehicle. It has to be
sports cars, low sports cars.
Yeah, it has to. There's some changes in terrain that are about that deep, so you need to be okay with that. But it's really fun if you're on a dual sport bike, or you're cool on maybe a super motard with street tires. You could totally do it, and it's mostly downhill. If you go up the paved part from Waya first and then go down the gravel part. But the paved part is awesome. It's a little dirty. We had a couple of spots where there's a tree blocking the whole lane and we had to go around it, debris on the road from the wood and stuff like that. But it's a really cool little hidden gem of a road. Yeah, four-way flashers are good at getting people to pull over. It is, blowing the horn when they cross the lane. I I'm not a big fan of blowing the horn on people to get them to pull over. That's a little bit pushing it. But for people who are crossing the lane, you can blow the horn every time they cross the double yellow. And if they say anything to you, say, hey, I was warning oncoming traffic that you were driving in their lane. It's just doing it for safety.
Yeah, kind of like semis do. If there are some semis, if they're on a curvy road, they'll blow the horn as they're entering. Hoping that, people will hear it. So it's like, hey, I was just doing that, trying to warn people.
Cool. All right. So thanks you guys again, our subscribers, and
Buddy says bye, y'all.
Keep us going, and join us next week, Tuesday, 8 p.m. We will bring answer a new set of questions. Hopefully you guys leave them in the comments. Okay. Thank you. Now you get to watch me fiddle around trying to find this button. Bye, y'all.